Sometimes when you're planning to fly IFR, you can decide to take off not having received the clearance from ATC or a release, but instead depart under VFR and plan to pick up and activate your IFR flight plan from the air. If you plan to do this, there are a few important points to consider first. Let's look at a scenario here where we're about to depart from Newport, Vermont. We filed our flight plan to Portland, Maine to the southeast at 9,000 feet. The cloud ceiling is reported at just above 4,000 feet. We know this airport pretty well, and the highest terrain in the area is just 2,300. The MEF is 3,400. So if we decide to climb to 3,500 first under VFR, we should be able to contact Boston Center and activate our instrument flight plan. So we take off, and once we're clear of the pattern, we switch over to Boston Center to pick up IFR. We tell them where we are and that we want to pick up our IFR plan on file to Portland. They come back and assign us a squawk code. Then they'll say something like, November 518 Foxtrot Tango, are you able to maintain your own terrain and obstruction clearance until reaching 6,000? We're okay here at 3,500, but the clouds aren't too far above us. We won't be able to get to 6,000 before entering IMC. Isn't that the whole point of having an IFR flight plan though? Why can't ATC clear us right away? The reason is that ATC can't assign us a vector below the minimum IFR altitude for the area we're in. The minimum altitude is based on nearby terrain, among other factors. So how could ATC tell us where or how to fly from where we are if we don't have appropriate obstacle clearance? We need to get to an appropriate altitude on our own first. We come back and say we're unable to maintain obstacle clearance through 6,000. They'll then come back and say, November 518 Foxtrot Tango, maintain VFR and say intentions. We might be stuck. If there's an area where the minimum IFR altitude is lower than we're currently at, we could get there and then get our clearance. These minimum vectoring altitudes aren't published for in-flight use, but ATC knows where they are. We could ask where these might be. ATC sees on their scope that the minimum altitude around here is 6,000 or in some areas 5,000, but there is a lower area to our west. They can recommend, keyword recommend, they can't vector us yet, that we fly west then under VFR before receiving our IFR clearance. So we aim ourselves west, but with the terrain still somewhat high and the clouds low, this feels a lot like scud running. A better idea if we don't want to depart the field IFR is to fly a published instrument departure procedure. For runway 23, that would have been a climb on heading 227 to 2,700 before proceeding on course. Yes, this would put us in the clouds below the minimum vectoring altitude, but by following the departure procedure, the responsibility for avoiding terrain shifts from us as the pilot to the FAA. You should always be flying departure procedures at non-towered airports unless otherwise instructed, even if you're departing under VFR, in case you get stuck in a situation like this where you can't climb above the minimum IFR altitude. Hopefully this insight keeps you out of trouble. Check out FlightInsight IFR Ground School today at the link here and in the description.